we welcome you to a special extended edition of WMKV Cares here on 89.3 and 89.9. George Zahn with you. And in full disclosure, I have someone sitting across the table from me that I have known her entire life, my daughter, Amanda Zahn, who is an assistant curator and assistant registrar at the Skirball Museum at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about a very special exhibit I know you've played a very big hand in, and it's called 18 Tiny Treasures. This is happening at the Skirball Museum. The opening reception, as I understand, is coming up on Sunday, September 18th. People can find out more. I think it's running through mid-December, around December 18th. Before we get to what the tiny treasures are, I think some people may say, why 18? Well, in Judaism, 18 is a very important number, correct?
Yes. 18 numerically signifies the letter Chai, which is also meant as the symbol for life. So 18 is life. It's opening on the 18th with 18 items.
And I know that many, many people, sometimes when they make a donation, they may donate $18 or some multiple of 18, but 18 tiny treasures. Now, let's get to the second half of this. Tiny treasures, and the tiny treasures, we'll go into more depth in a few moments, but what are some of the tiny treasures? What do you mean by tiny treasures?
We found that we have a vast collection of miniature objects and miniature Judaica, and we really wanted to highlight that with a small gallery show, just to show really the artistry that goes into creating tiny pieces of artwork.
And it is something, I remember even as a child, I was fascinated by miniatures. There are collectors of miniatures. Before we get into the 18 tiny treasures and maybe hit a few of the highlights here on this extended edition of WMKV Cares, let's talk for a moment about the Skirball Museum, number one. I think a lot of people may not be aware that this museum exists. We've featured them a few times here on WMKV. But tell us about the Skirball Museum, and then we'll ask about this collection that helped to contribute to the 18 tiny treasures.
The Cincinnati Skirball Museum is on the campus of Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. The Cincinnati campus was founded in 1875 by Isaac Mayer Wise, and really the museum has been collecting since the 1920s. It started with Dr. Adolf Oko, who was the first librarian of Hebrew Union College, and as most people do when they hear that you're collecting one thing, everybody wants to contribute. So we have several different places that our collection has come from, but it's really quadrupled just within the past year or so.
This has been somewhat in the news, but I think a lot of people may not be aware that the Skirball Museum also was the recipient of the B'nai B'rith Klutznick collection. What is that, and how did it come to the Skirball Museum?
The B'nai B'rith Klutznick collection came to us from the B'nai B'rith Museum that had been in Washington, D.C. that closed several years ago. Those objects sat in storage for quite some time, and then in May of 2015, those objects were transferred to us in a partnership with B'nai B'rith. The Klutznick collection is mostly from one particular family, but we have a wide variety of objects. We really had about 3,000 objects come to us. Officially 1,500, but there's always more than expected. And it really is a long process of figuring out how to unpack everything and condition report and really figure out how these objects fit in with our existing collection. And that's how the treasures series of exhibitions that we're doing really come into play.
One of the things that the Skirball Museum has been very involved with is trying to bring this Judaica to Cincinnati. Now, this is not a museum that's open maybe the same hours as like a Cincinnati Museum Center or something like that. How can people find out more about the Skirball Museum and how to bring maybe a group down or just to come down on their own and witness 18 Tiny Treasures or any of the other museum?
You're always welcome to self-tour. We're open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 4 and then Sundays from 1 to 5. But you are always welcome to also schedule a tour. And really the best way to do that is to find us on the website on huc.edu, and you can search for Skirball there or find us on social media. We have a very lively lovely Facebook page where we post all of our events, and you can find all the contact information you need to schedule tours.
And also at the end of this program, we'll give the phone number and we'll give a lot of those reminders once again. If you're just joining us, this is a special extended edition of WMKV Cares. We have a very special guest. If the name sounds familiar, it definitely is Amanda Zahn, who is with the Skirball Museum at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, the Cincinnati campus. This is a wonderful museum of Judaica, and she is actually one of the key people who helped to put together something called 18 Tiny Treasures from the B'nai B'rith Klutznick collection at Skirball Museum. The opening reception for this event will be on Sunday, September the 18th. It runs through December 18th. It is at Skirball Museum at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. The Cincinnati campus is on Clifton Avenue in Clifton here in the Cincinnati area. Amanda, we only have a little bit of time, but can you tell us a few of the favorite aha items from this wonderful miniature collection that you're going to be showing?
One of my favorite pieces is a miniature Bible or miniature Tanakh, which is the Old Testament. And it's really just about 1¼ inches high. And it has a little ivory carrying case with it that has a built-in magnifying glass. But this piece is a fully written Torah, and it's written in Hebrew. If you have very good eyesight or your bifocals work really, really well, you can read it. And miniature books were often used by travelers and soldiers and tradesmen, so they were able to have text with them at all times. It wasn't just a Judaic item, but there's miniature books from everywhere. We also have a couple different examples of oil lamps. We have one that is an antiquity that ranges from about 100 BCE that's made out of terracotta, and it shows some really amazing workmanship, all the way to a slightly more modern piece in silver and in metal that looks like a little miniature lion.
One of the things that sounds really interesting on this, and I've even seen it in the publicity materials for 18 Tiny Treasures at the Skirball Museum, is that I think youngsters are really, really fascinated by little things. Maybe it's the fact that when we're youngsters, we're little as well, but these little things that have such high detail to them, this would be great for youngsters to come down to, maybe class groups or even family outings, bringing the kids to see something like this.
Particularly for our opening, this is a great family-friendly event. We would love to see you there, whether you're an adult or a child, but it's a great family activity. We are doing a lot of art projects where you can make your own miniature art and make something to take home and keep your miniature treasures, your tiny treasures in yourself. And we'll be having storytelling, and we're really just hoping to make it a fun, interactive event and something that really brings families into the museum.
And the opening reception is not that far away. We're talking Sunday, September 18th, correct?
Correct.
From like 1 to 3?
Yes.
And this again is at the Mayerson Hall, Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion. Amanda, I have to ask a little bit about how did you pare down all of the Klutznick collection? I know that there were limited miniatures, but I'm sure it was tough editing this list down to 18 pieces.
We really had to work to think about things that would actually go well together in an exhibit, not just things that we thought were pretty or that we liked, and to really have a good array of objects that would pique various interests and keep people involved and really get a chance to interact with the objects. So I had to do a lot of work to figure out what would look the best in a case, what really is identifiable at first glance, or what maybe is something that you don't think it is. So those are the two interesting ways that we can look at things like this. One particular object that we really liked, which is actually featured in Cincinnati Magazine, is an Esther scroll or a Megillah that's used during the festival of Purim. And this piece is about 4 inches tall, and it again features very, very tiny writing and tiny artwork, but it's an absolutely beautiful piece.
And there are also things here. There's even a small samovar
Yes.
Wow. It's brass. And again, I know on some of these there may not be that much provenance. You might not know the exact date on some of this, but tell us about the samovar. This looks like it came out of a dollhouse, maybe.
It's a little bit bigger than that, but we aren't really sure why it's a miniature samovar. But for those of you who are not familiar, a samovar is Eastern European, and it was used to make tea.
Sure.
You would put hot coals in the center with water and the tea, and you would be able to brew it. It's pretty common to see in, grandparents' homes. That's just a centerpiece of the family. But this particular one is about 7 inches tall. Some people have suggested that maybe it was a model for a salesman. It could have just been a commemorative piece as well.
There are spice containers, a couple of different oil lamps. Really neat stuff. There is a miniature Torah breastplate, it looks like here. How much of Judaica do you need to understand to come down to this? Do you have to be an expert in Judaism or in Judaic art?
Not at all. All of our text labels will really help guide you through. And even if you don't understand a particular piece or come in knowing nothing about Judaism, you don't have to know anything about Judaism to come to this exhibit, you can still appreciate the miniature art and the workmanship that went into creating that. But we will have booklets that have descriptions of each object, as well as pieces that explain the history and the meaning behind different pieces as well.
And also you have docents and people who are there to help explain this, especially at the opening reception, which is again on Sunday, September 18th, 1 to 3 p.m. Amanda, we're almost out of time here. Again, I want to thank my daughter Amanda Zahn for coming in here for this and talking to us about 18 tiny treasures from the B'nai B'rith Klutznick collection at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion at Cincinnati Skirball Museum. It is a tremendous museum. I've done a couple of different programs down there with Amanda, with Abby, and some people from Cincinnati Museum Center who have been great collaborators on many things, and the Center for Holocaust and Humanity Education. Very, very important collection that Cincinnati has here in the Skirball Museum, and just one of the many facets of our museum culture in Cincinnati. The Skirball Museum is at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, the Cincinnati campus, 3101 Clifton Avenue in Cincinnati in the Clifton area. What would you say to somebody who has not even heard of Skirball? Maybe this has just piqued their interest a little bit.
Come down and check us out. We really are one of Cincinnati's hidden gems, and we're ready to kind of come out of hiding and really show the city what we have to offer and really be a great community player.
And when you come down to see 18 Tiny Treasures, there are other galleries and things that can be toured as well. Is that correct?
Yes, we have our permanent exhibition. We always have things on display, whether it's the permanent collection or a traveling exhibit or a temporary exhibit. There's always something to see.
And I will tell you, in the permanent exhibit, you will see Cincinnati Judaica from different temples and synagogues here in Cincinnati. You will see things that are bright and light and entertainment oriented. You will also see things from the Holocaust. It is the span of emotions, and any good museum, it makes you feel and makes you think, which is what this is all about. Again, Amanda, to find out more about the opening reception coming up on Sunday, September 18th, it's running through December 18th as well, through December 18th. 18 Tiny Treasures, how do they find out more?
Definitely check us out on Facebook. You can just search Cincinnati Skirball Museum. You can also find out more on HUC's website, huc.edu. Also check out the current issue of Cincinnati Magazine, where we're featured on the Artifact page.
And again, the phone number, if you want more information as well, 513-487-3098. Thank you to Amanda Zahn. Thank you to Abby Schwartz and all of our friends at the Skirball Museum at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, the Cincinnati campus on Clifton Avenue in Clifton. And check it out. If you have any questions, contact the radio station here. Obviously, I have a family contact here as well, so I can find out more information if I don't have it all here. And we thank you so much for listening to this extended edition of WMKV Cares. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.